I never thought I'd be that guy, the one who gets blindsided by something like this. Lisa and I had been married for 5 years, and honestly it seemed like everything was fine, or at least I thought it was. We had our arguments, sure, but who does? We were comfortable, happy enough. Or so I believed. Our anniversary was coming up, and I decided to plan a surprise dinner at that fancy restaurant we went to when we first started dating. I wanted it to be special, a reminder of how good things used to be. The day of the party, everything seemed perfect. Lisa looked stunning, as usual. She got all dressed up, and I could see her trying to act affectionate, which I appreciated. We arrived at the restaurant, and the night was going smoothly. We laughed, we ate, we reminisced about old times. I even thought, maybe we're stronger than I give us credit for. But there was this strange little itch in the back of my mind, a nagging feeling I couldn't shake. I'd noticed some weird behavior from her lately. She was more distant, more on edge, and she kept dismissing my questions about where she was when she was gone for hours. She'd say she was working late or with friends, but I could tell she was hiding something. After dinner, we went back to the hotel where I'd booked a room for us to continue the celebration. We had some drinks, made a little small talk, and then things started to feel off. Lisa was acting antsy, like she was trying to hide something. She kept checking her phone, then quickly stashing it away whenever I looked her way. I thought maybe she was just tired or nervous, but the way she kept fidgeting made my stomach twist. That's when I decided to do a quick check of her purse, something I normally wouldn't do, but I had this gut feeling that something was wrong. Maybe it was the way she kept avoiding my gaze, or the way she kept brushing her hair nervously. I reached into her purse and almost immediately found what I wasn't expecting. Her hotel key was still in her purse, and it wasn't just lying there innocently. There was a little card attached, one of those key cards that opens the hotel door. My eyes widened. That's when I saw it. A lipstick stain on the card and a faint scent of some expensive perfume I didn't recognize. My heart started pounding. I pulled the card out and looked at her purse, then back at the card again. The pieces fell into place. She'd been with someone else, probably last night. All the signs suddenly made sense. Her nervousness, her secretive phone habits, the way she snapped at me when I tried to ask about her plans. I felt this cold wave of betrayal settle into my chest. My whole body started to shake. I couldn't believe it. I'd trusted her with everything, and she'd been lying right to my face. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but the evidence was pretty clear. She was cheating on me. I remember standing there, my hands trembling, thinking about how I never suspected this would happen. I thought we were solid. I thought I was enough for her, but I was dead wrong. She was with someone else, and I knew that everything I believed about us was crumbling right in front of my eyes. I needed to confront her, but I also needed to breathe, to figure out what the hell I was supposed to do next. I didn't say a word right away. I just stared at that stupid keycard, trying to process what I just found. My mind was racing, stomach twisting into knots. I felt a strange mixture of anger, heartbreak, and confusion all at once. How could she do this? How could she look me in the eye every day and lie so effortlessly? I kept asking myself if I ever really knew her at all. She was still in the room, sitting on the bed, pretending like nothing was wrong. I could see her fidgeting, her eyes darting around. I took a deep breath, and that's when I finally lost it. I asked her straight up, "Who's the guy? Who were you with last night?" Her face immediately went from nervous to defensive. She looked at me with this shit-eating grin and said, "What are you talking about? You're overreacting. It's probably just some stupid coincidence." I could hardly believe what I was hearing. That's her typical line, a lie, a deflection, anything to avoid facing the truth. I told her I knew about the hotel key, about the perfume, about the lipstick stain. Her reaction was infuriating. She rolled her eyes, brushed her hair back, and snapped, "Oh please, you're being dramatic. It's not what you think. I was just hanging out with some friends, and maybe I was at the hotel for a little while, but it doesn't mean anything." That's when I saw the bitchy side of her come out. The way she dismissed me, like I was just some inconvenience she had to deal with. Like her betrayal was nothing more than a minor mistake. I asked her if she even cared about how much she'd hurt me. She just shrugged and said, "Look, I didn't mean for it to happen. It was just sex, okay? It doesn't mean I love him or anything." I couldn't even find words at that point. My head was spinning. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut and I was fighting back tears. How could she be so cold? How could she lie so easily? My mind kept flashing back to all the good times, all the promises we made, and now it all felt like a lie. The worst part was that she kept lying, even as I confronted her. She kept insisting it was just a one-time thing, that she didn't mean for it to go this far. But I knew better. I knew that once trust was broken like this, there was no going back. I felt so betrayed, so humiliated. I was angry at her, but also deeply hurt. I kept asking myself what I did wrong, if this was somehow my fault. But deep down, I knew this was all on her. Her selfishness, her inability to tell the truth, her need for some cheap thrill. As I sat there trying to process everything, I realized that I was at a crossroads. I could get angry, scream, throw her out, or I could try to salvage something. Though honestly, right then, I didn't see how that was possible. All I knew was that my heart was shattered and I was drowning in this sense of betrayal I didn't even know I was capable of feeling. I felt so lost, so broken, and yet somehow I also knew I had to make a decision. One way or another, this was going to change everything. After what felt like hours of sitting there in silence, my mind was spinning with a thousand thoughts. I couldn't believe how calm I was trying to stay, but inside I was boiling. Every instinct told me I needed to do something to make her pay for this betrayal. I looked at her, that bitchy smirk still on her face, and I knew I couldn't let her keep gaslighting me. Not anymore. I finally stood up, my voice shaking but firm. I told her, "You think this is just some mistake? You think I'm just going to forget about this? I trusted you, Lisa. I trusted you with everything, my hopes, my future, my heart. And you," I had to pause, breathe deeply to keep from losing it, "you just threw all that away for some cheap sex with my best man, just like that." I could see her trying to act innocent, like she was the victim here, but I wasn't buying it anymore. No way. She started to cry, but it was the kind of fake crying that only made me angrier. She kept saying, "It's not what it looks like. You're blowing this out of proportion." I was drunk, I was stupid. It meant nothing, I swear. I just stared at her, feeling this rage bubbling up. I knew she was lying, every word was a lie. She was trying to manipulate me, to make me feel guilty for catching her, but I wasn't falling for it. The thing that cut the deepest was how she kept insisting she was the victim, that she didn't mean for it to happen, that she didn't want to hurt me, that she was just curious or bored or whatever excuse she wanted to use. But I saw right through her. I saw her trying to rewrite the story, trying to make it seem like I was the crazy one for even finding out, like I was overreacting. And for a moment, I wondered if maybe she had convinced herself too. Maybe she thought that her lies could somehow make everything okay. But I knew better. I knew she was just trying to save her ass. I started packing my things, not because I wanted to leave right then, but because I needed distance. I couldn't look at her anymore without feeling this surge of betrayal. I told her she could keep her lies, keep her excuses, but I was done. Done with pretending everything was fine. I told her I needed time to think, that I didn't want to see her or talk to her until I sorted through this mess. She looked panicked, tried to grab my arm, but I shook her off. Honestly, I was already planning to leave, to get out of that place and figure out what to do next. As I grabbed my coat and headed for the door, she called after me, begging, crying, saying she loved me and it was all a mistake, that she didn't mean for any of this to happen, that she was sorry. But sorry didn't cut it anymore. Nothing could fix this. I was so angry, so heartbroken that I could barely speak. I just looked at her one last time, this stranger I once thought I knew, and then I walked out, closing the door behind me. I didn't know what lay ahead, but I knew I couldn't stay. Not with her. Not after this. Walking out of that hotel room, I felt like I was leaving a part of myself behind. The cold night air hit me like a slap, but honestly, I didn't even notice. All I could think about was the image of her sitting there, that smug little look on her face, trying to pretend everything was fine. I never thought I'd see the day I'd be the guy betrayed on his own anniversary. It's like a punch to the gut, a betrayal so deep I couldn't even breathe right. I drove home in silence, my mind replaying every moment, the way she had lied, the way she dismissed my feelings like I was some idiot overreacting. I kept asking myself what I'd done wrong, why I hadn't seen the signs earlier. But deep down, I knew this wasn't about me. It was about her selfishness, her desire for some meaningless sex, her need to feel wanted by someone else. When I got home, I didn't even bother to turn on the lights. I just stood there in the dark, staring at the door, feeling like I was suffocating. My chest was tight, my head pounding. I knew I had to face the reality of what I found out, but part of me still wanted to deny it. A tiny voice inside kept whispering, maybe she's telling the truth. Maybe it was a mistake, maybe she's sorry, but the evidence kept screaming. At me, her hotel key, the lipstick stain, the perfume scent. That's when I realized I couldn't pretend anymore. I couldn't pretend she hadn't hurt me, that she hadn't crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. I called my buddy Mark, the only person I could trust with all this chaos. I needed to talk to someone to get some sanity back. I told him everything, how I caught her, the hotel key, her lies, her tears. Mark was furious. He called her a bitch, told me to kick her out, to never look back. I appreciated his support, but honestly, I didn't even know what I wanted. Part of me wanted to confront her again, to yell, to make her feel guilty, to make her own her betrayal. The other part just wanted to disappear, to forget this whole nightmare. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying the last few hours, the words she said, her fake tears, her smirking face. I felt so stupid for trusting her, for believing in forever. I kept thinking about everything I'd lost, my sense of security, my happiness, my future. It was all shattered now. I wasn't just hurt, I was devastated. I kept asking myself how I was supposed to face him, the best man, the guy I considered my friend for years, knowing that he was part of this mess, that he'd betrayed me too. How do you deal with that kind of double betrayal? It's like the worst nightmare I could ever imagine, and I was living it. In that moment, I realized I needed to decide what comes next. Do I stay, try to fix things? Or do I walk away and rebuild myself? Honestly, I didn't have an answer yet. All I knew was that I'd never look at her the same way again, and I'd definitely never trust either of them the same way. The pain was raw, and I felt like I was drowning in it. But somehow, I knew I had to get out of this hole. I had to find a way to move forward, even if it meant starting all over. Over the next few days, everything felt like a blur. I'd wake up in the morning, and the first thing I'd think about was her, how she looked when she lied, that stupid smirk, the way she thought she could just brush it off. Every little thing reminded me of what I'd lost, and honestly, I started to question everything about our life together. Was it all a lie? Did she ever really love me? Or was I just a fool for thinking I was enough? I stayed away from her as much as I could. Honestly, I didn't want to see her face, didn't want her to see the pain in mine. That night I sat alone in my apartment. Nothing fancy, just plain, quiet, and empty. And I kept staring at my phone, debating whether I should call her, yell at her, or just delete her number altogether. Part of me wanted to punish her, to make her feel the same heartbreak she'd given me, but I knew that wouldn't fix anything. The damage was done, and I couldn't undo it. The worst part was dealing with the fallout from her lying to everyone else. I found out she'd already started making excuses, telling friends she and I had just grown apart, that she was sorry we couldn't work it out. I felt like everyone was talking behind my back, judging me, sympathizing with her. That made me even angrier. How could she spin it like she was the victim? I knew she was good at lying, but it was hard to sit back and let her get away with it. My pride wouldn't let me just accept that she'd betrayed me and move on without consequences. Then came the day I finally decided to confront the other guy, Mark's best friend, Jake. I knew it was risky, but I had to hear it straight from him. I wanted to know how deep this went, if he was just some fling or if there was more to it. I didn't plan to beat him up or anything, but I needed clarity. So I called him, and he answered with that casual tone, like this was all just a joke. I told him I knew everything, that he had slept with my wife during our anniversary celebration, that I found the hotel key in her purse. There was a long silence on the line, and then he finally admitted it. Said they'd been seeing each other for a while, that it was just sex, but that she'd been acting different lately. I felt a strange mixture of rage and disgust. How deep did this go? Was he just as much a part of this betrayal as she was? I told him I didn't want to hear any excuses, just that he needed to stay away from her. End of story. I hung up and felt a little bit of relief, knowing I'd finally faced the truth about the man who'd been involved. That night I sat alone again, staring at the wall, thinking about everything. The lies, the betrayals, the pain, and my own foolishness for trusting her so blindly. I realized I couldn't keep living in this chaos. I had to decide whether to fight for the marriage or walk away for good. Part of me still loved her deep down, but love doesn't mean much when it's betrayed so completely. I was exhausted, emotionally drained, and questioning if I'd ever be able to trust again. But I knew one thing. I couldn't keep pretending that everything was fine. I had to face the reality, no matter how ugly it was, and figure out what my next move would be. The days that followed were the hardest of my life. I'd go from moments of numbness to sudden bursts of anger, then to deep, aching sadness. Every time I thought about her, Lisa, lying, cheating, pretending to be innocent, it felt like a punch to the gut all over again. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I could have been so blind to what was right in front of me. But the truth was I wasn't blind. I just didn't want to see. I loved her, or I thought I did, and that made it easier to ignore the little things that added up to something much darker. I finally reached a point where I knew I had to make a choice. Was I going to let this destroy me, or was I going to pick up the pieces and move on? The pain was intense, like a constant ache in my chest. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and foolish for ever trusting her. But midst all that, I realized I couldn't stay in this limbo forever. I had to get out, cut the cord, and start rebuilding my life without her. I could see now that some betrayals are so deep, they leave scars you carry forever. But scars can also be reminders, lessons about who you are and what you deserve. I told her flatly that it was over, that I couldn't look at her anymore, that she had broken something inside me that I didn't know I still had. I explained I needed space, time to heal, and that I wasn't sure if I could ever forgive her, not now, not ever. She begged, of course, crying, saying she loved me, that she made a mistake, that she'd change. But I knew better. Words meant nothing anymore. What mattered was that she had betrayed everything we built, everything I believed in. Getting through the breakup was brutal. I moved out of our shared apartment, leaving behind memories I'd once cherished. I started therapy, not just to cope, but to rebuild my confidence, my sense of self. Every day was a struggle, and some days I thought I'd never get over it. But slowly, I began to rediscover who I was outside of her. I started to see that I didn't need her betrayal to define me, that I was stronger than I thought, capable of surviving even the deepest heartbreak. Looking back, I learned a lot from this nightmare. Trust is fragile, and betrayal cuts so deep it can shatter everything you once believed in, but I also learned that you can survive it. You can pick yourself up, even when the pain feels unbearable. I want to tell anyone who's going through something similar, don't let betrayal destroy your sense of worth. Take your time to heal. Don't rush into forgiveness or moving on. Just give yourself permission to feel everything. Because in the end, betrayal teaches you who you really are. And I've come to realize that I am capable of far more resilience than I ever gave myself credit for.